Hey everyone, my name is Danny Dumas, and this is the Earn Your Title podcast. Today, we're going to talk to you about raising a kids in a community. The last couple episodes, I've been talking about kids in school, so this might be aimed at dads in the younger category, but I think it's applicable to anybody that's raising kids. And this thought came to me when I was on Instagram doom scrolling one day. I saw a little bit older guy, maybe in his late 50s, early 60s, and he's running, and there's a 4-year-old running with him. And the person who posted was a lady, and she said, "Look, it's possible. My dad and my child have a relationship, even though I didn't allow them to interact until they were 2." And it went into, if you read the information underneath the post, it was, I was worried about some viruses and disease when they were younger, and I just thought it would be better if I could isolate my child until I was for sure that they were healthy and just not have her parents, her dad, interact with them, pick them up, till they were 2 years old. And it really hit me like, is this a thing? So I kind of did a little bit of research, and if you type, should people hold my baby? Man, there is a lot of opinions. And I started thinking about some families I know. I know a family that they didn't get to hold their grandkid until the baby was 1 year old. That was really different from the way I grew up. It was really different from the way my wife grew up. And so I started looking into, what is appropriate. So let's start with, newborns. When your baby is born, so if you're a new dad or getting ready to be a new dad, I know it's scary, and I know there is a lot of information out there, and your baby's born. And I will say in that first 2 to 3 months that there is a risk of your baby developing an infection, an illness, bacteria, viruses, because they don't really have a developed immune system. So I'm totally for, in that first 3 months, 4 months, if your baby's preemie, maybe even longer, to limit access, to ask your family, hey, can we not kiss them on the face? If you want to give them a kiss them on the foot. I think that's acceptable. That's understandable. Your wife and you are, you're recovering, she's recovering, and that's tough. But once you get past the point where viruses, bacteria, disease is a huge risk, then I think you have to start thinking of what do you want for your kid in general and overall. And for me, and I'm going to try not to be like judgy and just say, this is what has worked for me. I'm not a psychiatrist and I'm not a doctor, so I'm not giving out medical advice. But for me, in the way I grew up and the way my kids have grown up, giving them access to a large group of people, to dozens of people that held them, interacted with them, talked with them, I feel like has truly made them well-rounded individuals. Where I look at, I've got some friends that have kids that were sheltered, we'll just use that word, and they're not as interactive. They're not as, their ability to talk to strangers and interact with grown-ups is severely limited. And I know we're scared, right? COVID, I think we're all coming out of COVID with this worry. And I have a friend, he was talking about his son and daughter getting hurt, and he has a saying, he's like, are you hurt or are you injured? If you're hurt, no big deal, we'll brush that off. If you're injured, we need to go to the hospital. And their kids know that, and I think that's awesome to say, are you hurt or are you injured? In addition to that, I think as parents, we need to say, is this scary or is it dangerous? It might be scary to think that your 6-month-old is going to go to a birthday party and other people are going to hold your 6-month-old. That might be scary because you're worried about all the things, all the disease, you name it. Like if you Google your kid sneezes, you Google what happens when my kid sneezes, they've got the worst disease ever, and they probably don't. So you go there and you have this panic and anxiety that you're bringing this baby and that it's going to be just bombarded by disease everywhere you go. Well, that is probably, if you look at the actuality of what's going to happen, it's probably more scary than it is dangerous. Where if you think, what are the benefits? The benefits are that your baby knows that it can receive comfort from people that aren't you. And when you have your first kid, it's not too bad because it's just you and the baby and you can take care of all of its needs. But as you have the second and third, maybe fourth kid, you realize that now you've got these competing convictions, these competing needs. Your 3-year-old needs you, but your baby needs you. And then you look around, and because you haven't facilitated, you haven't encouraged people to help you, because the first time you didn't need it, right? Now you have these other people. Now you're juggling 2 babies. and you don't have anybody there to help you, I would encourage you to find your core group of people. And now I'm very blessed. I have a great family. Both my parents and my in-laws are awesome. My sisters and brother-in-laws are awesome. We have a core knit group of friends, and we feel very comfortable. Hey, could you hold my baby? Could you take my baby? And it's really good. I would encourage you, if you're doing it out of fear, if you're not letting family members or friends around your baby out of fear, just do the research, get online and see what are the concerns. What are the concerns with RSV? What are the concerns with bacterial infection? And then what are the percentages and what can you do to prevent that? Have your friends and family, if they're going to hold their baby, wash their hands. There's nothing wrong with it. When they say, can I hold your baby? You say, absolutely. You mind washing your hands? If someone has a problem, that's not the person you want holding your baby. They go, oh, absolutely, wash our hands. I think you need to facilitate that though ahead of time, because being a parent to a newborn is really hard. One of the greatest things that my in-laws gave to me and my wife is every kid that was born, we have 3 kids, my mother-in-law came and stayed at our house for at least a month. So at night when we're exhausted, Andrea was up with the baby, breastfeeding all night, both of us are tired. We would wake up, we'd hand the baby to my mother-in-law, and we'd go back and take a nap for an hour or two. What a great gift. It made us better parents. It also allowed my mother-in-law to form a bond that I think is special because she connected, and outside of just the psychological bond, look into the benefits of your baby's gut health, right? There's lots of studies out right now of, normal deliveries, vaginal deliveries versus C-sections, and the benefit of the gut health of your baby from getting from the mother, from breastfeeding and all these things. And I'm not here to say what you should and shouldn't do, but look into the benefits of having your baby exposed to multiple types of good bacteria, even including your pets. If you have a pet in your home, your baby's going to have some gut health that is probably better than other babies that have a very sterile environment. And I'm not saying give your kids germs. I'm not saying that. But there is a benefit to having them exposed to different conditions, to having them go outside and actually get into the sun. I know some parents, they become hermits for 6 months. They go inside. They don't ever go outside. Your baby needs exposure to sunlight. My son was jaundiced when he was younger. And I said, what do you do? And the doctor's like, well, put him in a car seat and stick him by the window. Just the sun literally fixes that. So I encourage you to overcome the fear and figure out what is scary versus what is dangerous when it comes to your newborns, the little babies. And again, for the first couple of months, absolutely. Don't let people kiss them in the face. You don't need to do that. But as they get older and as it gets safer, I would highly encourage you to go get help. I grew up going to church, and my parents were both involved in the ministry. And I know for sure that I got passed around. I have ladies that are, elderly now. I won't say how old they are, but they're older. They still remember, you were just the cutest chunky baby. And I was held for the entire church service, not by my parents. And I feel like that helped me. That helped me realize that my security is not in my parents, that I can have security from other people. And that's a good thing. So on the baby side, go get help. It's hard. It's really hard by yourself. And if you have the ability to have at least a parent or a sister or a brother help you, get it. It's worth it. And then as your baby grows up and they become toddlers and, tweens and then teens, I would encourage you to gather together a group of people that you have vetted through time and, that you just have you're very confident that these are good people. And that can be hard to do. It's, in my life, my church is my church family, and I've spent hundreds of hours with these people, and I feel very confident. And my parents did the same thing, where I had families that I knew I could, like if I was stuck somewhere, I could call them and they would come get me. If I can get a hold of my parents, I'm calling the Mans, or I'm calling the McVitie's, I'm calling, the parents, I'm calling these people, and they're going to help me out. I also, and this was very important as you'd get into your teenage years, I knew that there was a group of parents that would, if they told me something, it was as if my parents were telling me something. If they were saying, don't do this, that was like my parents telling me. In the springtime, me and my buddies, we would go turkey hunting, and we took our sons. They're all the same age. They were about 13 when they started. And we would give them guns, now, and when they were younger, we would carry the guns for them. When they sat down, we'd give it to them, and We'd only put one shell in, and we would sit down, hey, shoot this way, not this way. When they were 14, they were able to carry the guns around a little more on their own. It was kind of 50-50. By the time they were 15, and this year when they were 16, they were carrying guns the entire time. They've all been through hunter safety. We've all talked about hunters, the rules of firearm safety. But we at the beginning of this trip, we sat down and said, listen, if I say it, or if Brandon says it, or if Nick says it, stop doing it. If we say, hey, you flagged us with the gun, don't say, I know, I'm no, you just say, okay, I won't do that again. And it was like we were giving all of ourselves power or authority for the other person's kid to say, hey, that's dangerous, don't do that. You need to develop that in your life. You need to have some people, because you can't be everywhere. There's no way you can be everywhere. You need some men and women that you love, that you would consider family, to interact with your kids. And one, to be the eyes and ears that you can't be, and two, to be the person that will tell them or give them advice that you want to, and they won't listen to you. And I think that is just really important, that you have that community. And you can't just interject that. All of a sudden, you can't go from really no interaction. All of a sudden, hey, see this guy over here? I know you don't know him. He's my friend from work. He's going to be your mentor. You have to develop that from the time they're little kids. Maybe instead of calling them, Mr. So-and-so, you say, hey, this is Uncle so-and-so. And even though he's not your brother, or this is Aunt so-and-so, you need to develop that. And I think it really goes a long ways to creating a strong, independent young person that can realize they can get away from you and still feel safe, still have security, become their own person, because they're surrounded by a community that means something to them. And that is something that you need to curate. It's something that you have to put effort in and thought into who that's going to be. And then you have to go and spend time around them when your kids are little. And it's hard. It's hard to do that. And it's a little scary. We have a mixed culture in my family. My wife is Latin and I'm American. And for me, I went to my friend's house. One of my friend Dwayne, I bet I spent 400 nights in my life spending the night at his house. My wife, they didn't ever go anywhere, because in the Latin culture, you're not spending the night. You can go hang out, but you're not spending that. And my kids are probably way more Latin when it comes to going to friends' houses, spending time. And that's okay, because we've curated that we're going to spend time with these people all as a family, as they're going to go out and play. We vacation together, right? We go on trips together. We do adventures together. And I just think it's really important. So whether you're a brand new dad, or you're raising, toddlers, or maybe you're even in teenage years, I want you to go out and find your community, find your village, find your people. Let them know, hey, what you say, I think is important to my kid. And I want you to speak life into them. I want you to be encouraging to them. And if they're doing something stupid, I want you to stop them. You have permission to just straight up tell them they're wrong. And I think that's a really great way to live. I don't want to live out of fear of these things that are unknown strangers and what could happen. Man, the world is hard enough when for real problems. To put fear into your life over, my 5-year-old's going to get sick because they go to someone's house and they don't, I don't know, they didn't get vaccinated and I think they should have. I just don't think that's something that's scary. It's not dangerous. So let your kids do things that maybe are scary. I love it. My youngest, super independent. When we go to Culver's, which is it's a restaurant in the Midwest, but you order the food and you sit down, they bring it out to you, so you don't have a waiter. The kids get a free ice cream. And since she was little, since she could walk and barely talk, she wanted to do it herself. And we give her the coupon. She walks up, she hands it to the lady or the guy taking her order. She says, I want chocolate with sprinkles. And we let her do that. We let her go do something that's scary. It's not dangerous. No one's going to kidnap this little girl. We can see her from where we're at, but we let her take those things. So go let your kid, go let them do scary things. Let them go to friends' houses. Let them go walk down the street without a phone. Don't track them. That stuff I think is important. Surround them with good people. And I think you're going to be happy with the results when you have a strong, independent person who's eventually going to move out of your basement and allow you to have a little more free time. So I hope you like this. I have a question or a request from you. If you could leave me a review, I would really appreciate it. This podcast is growing. I think as of release of this episode, I'll be at around 15,000 episodes. or 15,000 downloads, and that's because of you. And I thank you for that. So if you like this, leave me a review. And as I always say, my name is Danny Dumas, and this is the Earn Your Title podcast, and I will see you later. Bye.